I'm going to stop reading Man in the Desert because nobody was reading it. But I had a friend who begged me to continue reading it, and he just told me to turn my camera around. So, the man in the desert, he's gone through quite a lot. He lives in a trailer in southern New Mexico. He has two goats that faint, and he hunts peyote for a living. There's a coyote who's leading aliens, illegal aliens, into America, their little group. And that whole group gets together on a scene I think you'll enjoy. So let's try it. After a horrible incident in Vietnam, and deciding the whole situation was long reached from insanity, he made his way to the coast of Thailand and signed on with a freighter out of Bangkok and sailed into the next chapter of his life. Listing as MIA, he was anything but. For the goats, this pile of basalt was Disneyland. Each boulder was claimed by the buck, who announced the summit with a goat yodel and a tap dance. Though burdened with the packs, the young doe hopped happily about, flashing her white deer tail and speaking in short sentences to the man. The man, in turn, floated up the hill like a wisp of smoke on sinewy legs, humming Freebird and believing he was. His consumption of various mind-altering products of nature had dulled some senses and heightened others. He was reaching the top of the world and was cherishing every moment. These were the good times, and he had more than his share. It's all priorities, he thought. Get them straight and life is so much easier. He wanted simply to enjoy this bleak of time on this planet. The top of the butte was not as flat as it looked from the desert. There were patches of ground white with alkali and flat stone platforms resting on cinder blocks. A large boulder with strange drawings of odd animals and men hunting them stared across the plateau. The buck had been strangely silent for the last half hour, and the man knew he was lying. For all his antics during the day, the buck was only silent when he had found something he did not want to share. The creases on his bronzed face deepened as the man broke into a wide smile. Okay, you bastard, give it up, the man spoke softly. The buck remained silent and hidden behind the thin branches of a lonely mesquite tree. The doe wagged her head and called for the old billy. Instinctively, the old goat replied, giving away his position. The man and the doe skipped toward the buck and his find. A solitary cloud passed overhead, almost close enough to touch, and the man thought he smelled the sweet salt of the sea so far away. With a gentle boot to the rear of the billy, the man gazed down at the treasure, the reason they had begun this journey. A jig was called for and performed by all admirably. White alkali dust rose off the plateau, coating all involved in a ghostly white film. And they danced and kicked their feet. The dying sun's reflection off the chrome handle of the fire extinguisher signaled across the desert that an angel was born. There's nothing to wipe with. What do you wipe with up here? Asked Ramos. My ass is bleeding from these rocks. Following an old game trail, the brothers had found their way halfway up the north side of the miniature mountain. We will be sleeping on rocks tonight, Jesus mumbled. He is close, says Ramos. We followed his tracks to this hill. He is here. Why would he crawl up this miserable molehill? Asked Jesus. Because he may be just as lost as we are, answered Ramos. This is your great adventure, he smirked. Why couldn't we stay and work in Papa's garage? Our cousins are sending money home each month, said Jesus. We are going to do. What are we going to do? We are both too lazy to work on old cars and have no skills except loafing, continued Jesus. I was going to marry Charlotte. Now we're climbing a mountain trying to find the bastard who betrayed us and dodging Chupacabra, replied Ramos. Charlotte was our nanny, you dumb bastard. How could you fall in love with her? Asked Jesus. She had soft hands and gave us those special baths, said Ramos. What special baths? I never got any special bath, said Jesus. Never mind, said Ramos. What is that noise? Said Jesus.